Warriors, my friends, my extended family, welcome to another episode of the Anxiety Guy podcast. I am grateful that you could join me here today on this very important podcast episode. If you want to learn more about the Health Anxiety Program, head over to theanxietyguy.com and learn more about the 12-week journey towards healing your health anxiety at theanxietyguy.com. And today, in this podcast episode, I'll be answering a question that just circulates so very much within the health anxiety realm. And yes, I should be doing this podcast episode on the Health Anxiety Podcast show, but I just decided to do it here instead. And yes, the Health Anxiety Podcast show will be continuing very, very soon. So please catch up on those episodes before we get going again. And the question is, how to tell the difference between anxiety symptoms and real physical issues. Now, I feel like you're going to be disappointed. At least a part of you is going to be disappointed in some of my answers. Because I think that most people want a list, okay? They want a list of how to differentiate between what an anxiety symptom is in the body and what a physical illness or disease feels like in the body. I'm not here to give you that list, nor am I here to give you that reassurance, because you're going to give yourself that reassurance in time anyway. You're here, you're listening, you're taking in this information, this knowledge, this wisdom, and you're going to use it for your own benefit. So I'm not worried at all about you, to be honest. I'm not worried about you at all. In fact, I am so very grateful that you are in fact going through this anxiety struggle, because it's going to bring out the real you, okay? The real you. And you're going to begin seeing the truth behind reality very, very soon. Now, I want you to understand this, just to start this podcast episode off, okay? The simple act of asking this keeps us in fight or flight activation, keeps us maintaining our irrational need for control, and prolongs our addiction to suffering. You have to ask yourself the question of, why do I keep asking myself this question? Why? At the deepest levels, what is spurring on this need to figure out whether what I'm feeling is an anxiety symptom or a physical disease or illness at some point? Now, if you knew 110% that what you're experiencing is related to the emotional sensitivity and the emotional suppression and the suppression of mental ideas and this spiritual low vibration, if you actually 110% made that connection and said, I now know that my symptoms are related to anxiety, what would happen then? I know what you're thinking. You're going, well, my life would just be amazing. Well, I don't know about that. Because I believe that the subconscious mind is very opportunistic and wants to keep you within the realm of the addiction to suffering and within an identity that does, in fact, familiarize itself with suffering. So even if you came to the conclusion that my anxiety symptoms are in fact related to anxiety, I have this feeling that you're just going to find another way to suffer. And that way could be mentally, could be emotionally, could be behaviorally, could be in your relationships, your perceptions, your interpretations, it could be anything, right? But the interesting thing about the subconscious mind is when it familiarizes itself with an identity connected to anxiety, it will sort forth things that perpetuate this identity in the outside world. So you won't even focus on your Christmas tree, right? You'll come into the house and you'll realize how messy it is, right? connected to suffering, right? Or, you won't even realize, for example, how clean your place is, but you'll notice how the toilet seat is up, and that will take you down the realm of suffering. So we have to understand that it's not so much your own perceptions that are in play here. It's your unconscious, subconscious mind's perceptions that want to keep you in a familiar place of suffering. But back to this question. We should, okay, I don't really like that word. Let's use must, okay? We must focus on our mental, emotional, and spiritual health, as these are what mirror your physical health, right? It's like looking in the mirror, right? On one side there's the emotional health, and on the other there's the physical health, and that is a cycle right there. That is a feedback loop, right? The emotional health dictates the physical, and the physical dictates the emotional. So instead of focusing on questions like this, right, that are only there to make you feel like you need a certain degree of control and certainty in your life, therefore prolonging anxiety, instead of focusing on these types of questions, let's move our focus. Let's move our energy elsewhere. Because you know what that starts to bring up? That starts to bring up the very ingredient that you currently don't have in your life. And that's called trust. You need to trust. Maybe you lost that trust. You lost that trust with your parents. You lost that trust with your relationships, your teachers, whatever it may be. You lost that trust with your own inner child that still resides within your mind, body, and spirit. We lost that trust. And the idea of, in fact, letting go, right, of these types of questions, letting go of the diagnosis that we are and the label that we carry around that's related to anxiety, letting go of these things is very difficult for us because we fear what may take place if, in fact, we do let go. What's going to happen then, right? In a health anxiety sufferer's world, what they believe is going to happen is their greatest fears are going to come true. But again, we're living in an irrational place. Control, 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 certainty, 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 right? All of these illusions that we continue to believe in that are so very false and robs us of our life experience. It robs us from our relationships. It robs us from our creativity. It robs us with getting back in touch with nature. Yes, we can walk in nature, but what kind of relationship do we have with nature, right? I get to a point where I'm starting to talk to the trees. People think I'm crazy, and I love it, right? And to them I go, one day you'll understand, right? Where I am at this point, where you may be at this point. So instead of asking this question, we should focus on our mental, emotional, and spiritual health because those are the mirrors that tend to create physical health, right? The other thing is when your attention turns away from protecting the physical body and towards growing the spiritual body, optimal health will be the result. And I'm not telling you or asking you to take a massive leap here from focusing on the physical to the spiritual. Okay? No, because that's not easy. Okay? And a lot of people need to go into this spiritual path, okay, in their own way at the right time. So just because I say, hey, instead of this, do that, it's not like it's going to happen overnight. But we have to have the open-mindedness and the open-heartedness to say, you know what, this is an option in my life. I don't have to be like my friends, my parents. I don't have to be like I was yesterday. I can believe in things that seem to be true at the heart level. Okay, I can start to follow my heart with a certain degree of trust. I don't have to edit everything through my mind anymore, right? Heart says something, intuition says something, and the mind says, no, it can't be true, right? Well, it is true, but the mind doesn't like change, right? So we turn our attentions away from protecting the physical body from protecting the physical body to growing the spiritual body. Therefore, we start to see everything energetically rather than physically. Think about that for a second. Everything that's alive today has an energy to it, right? Has an electromagnetic energy to it that is pulsating. And when you're stuck in anxiety, when you're stuck in fear, you are going through the world in a very low vibration that doesn't allow you to tap into the energies of other living things. Why do you think some people are drawn to hugging trees? Right? You look at that person, why the heck are they hugging a tree? Because the person in fear cannot see that the tree is alive. But the person that has overcome anxiety and no longer lives in fear but lives in the creative process sees that the tree is alive. There is a liveliness to the tree. There is a liveliness to nature. And no longer is it this attitude of give me what I need. It's how can we do this back and forth? I'm taking herbs. How can I give back? This is what healing is all about. This is what the journey is all about, right? And the obsession over the physical body only prolongs the addiction to suffering, which keeps us suppressing and never expressing or creating. I want you to get rid of this question today. Today. Okay? Yes, you can take your yearly exams. Yes, if your heart says that, you're experiencing a certain degree of pain or whatever it is in the physical body, go get it checked. But stop living through the obsession of looking for the next thing that goes wrong in your body and interpreting it as a physical structural issue that's going to get you in time. Stop living in that place, in that dimension. Stop living in a low vibrational place. It's time that we went beyond these ideas. These ideas keep us struggling. These ideas keep us in fear. And fear connects to anger. And fear connects to sadness. And fear connects to distrust. And fear connects to forgiveness. Unforgiveness. And all of these things tend to connect with one another, don't they? The end goal is to have such a firm trust in your body that it doesn't matter what it may scream with. You know the body has the potential to heal itself. You know. And when you know the body has this incredible potential to heal itself, you start to become interested in ways to heal yourself. The heart starts to lead your life. No longer are you led by the latest fad. This equipment came out. That came out. This mattress. That fidgety toy. You're no longer looking to cope with these ideas that connect to your anxiety and your anxiety identity. Because managing it and babysitting it is only going to create regret in your life in the future. And what would you have given? What would you have given many years from now, laying in your deathbed, to go, I wish I would have just taken that podcast episode seriously, more seriously. And I would have looked within, and I would have started asking myself some serious questions. Not the questions I ask myself every single day that are connected to my physical health, that keep me in the realm of suffering. Not those kinds of questions. But the questions that help me to question my reality. The questions that help me to question who I've become and who has led me to this identity. Anxiety isn't who you are. These questions aren't real to you. They're only there to prolong your suffering. In truth, at the deepest levels. You know you're healthy. You know you're healthy. So stop looking for ways, creative ways, that are led by the unconscious sides of you to move towards suffering. As much as it is familiar, it's not fulfilling. And if it's not fulfilling, we don't want to have anything to do with it, my friends. Has this podcast episode enlightened you in some way? Has it provided you with some kind of clarity? If it has, give it a positive rate and review on the podcast directory that you're listening to it on. I read every single one, and it would mean a lot to me. Or if you're listening to this on YouTube, comment below and tell me what you gained from this. Today's the day that we're no longer afraid, but we are empowered. We are empowered because other people are where we deserve to be. And we don't come from a jealous side. We come from an open-minded, compassionate side. And therefore, in time, as long as you stay on the path of healing and start moving your focus from your head to your heart, what's going to happen is you're going to heal your anxiety. But before you do, you're going to heal your identity. You're going to look in the mirror and say, I am something different. That's when I know. That's when I know healing anxiety is right around the corner. I love you all from the bottom of my heart. Have a wonderful day, and never forget that you are more than anxiety. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.